drink you ever made.
Kool-Aid.
The tide's a part of the 4% we understand. So Bill O'Reilly's giving a list of things that are fully understood.
Conspiracy, telecom, go?
No, that's pretty much all I had to say about that. Just that I feel like these big cable companies don't want you getting your information out because they don't really have any kind of contract with you that makes them millions of dollars. So they don't have any kind of reason to let you put your information out into the world any faster.
Well, the thing that irritates the shit out of me is, number one, the option is available. However, unless you're a business, you can't get fast. You can only get to a fast enough speed. And two, I forgot. No, and two, the only reason they're in the situations that they're in is someone like me or you who understands all this stuff doesn't have the money. Well, doesn't have the capability of making this a option in the rest of the world. Like, I can't just go, I don't like your pricing and your methods, so I'm going to go create my own company to compete against yours and drop all the rate. Because I didn't have a 100-year company already kind of built into place. So that all I had to do was rework some old wiring and ta-da! Which is why I respect the shit out of Google, because Google's like, yeah, we don't like the options available, and we know the people don't, so we're just gonna do this. But you're not a telecommunication company, so. But you can't understand the going away. No, we think the rate should be like this, and we think that this is what should be available. But,
well, it's because they've also got fantastic business sense too. Like,
yeah.
Google finds ways for all of its things to at least funnel some business back towards them to making money on the ads and stuff. Well, they're smart. I don't think there are very many things Google invests in or does that they end up losing a bunch of money on.
I agree. That said, I also like Google's because Google was built from a young company or from a young mindset, and I think it's important that they understand the importance of maintaining that young mindset. They're just like, yeah, we're gonna go. We've made our money, and we've got all these kind of things happening, so we're just gonna get a bunch of people under a roof, and we're gonna throw money at them and not require results. We're gonna be like, let's see what type of cool shit you can come up with. And they're in total support of that. And it's like, wow, this is a really cool idea. Hence Google Fiber, hence the Nexus, hence all of these other things. And they're like, this is a really cool idea. We're going to put it out in the market, and we're going to make it cost this little. Why are you going to do that? When you've got all the other companies looking at them like, you're fucking retarded. And they're like, yeah, we think people should have access to this. We don't believe in you controlling them. And yeah, which I have never and always hate, and there is no way in fucking hell any of the phone companies can make me agree with the fact that throttling your internet access is completely necessary.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah. I have no idea why that is, or why they have limited people. Because as an overall, like, you pull up Google Maps and you go on a road trip, you can kill most of those plans in like a day.
I mean, imagine if similar businesses did the same thing. Like, imagine if you were a dude that had been gifted by fate or God or whoever with like we'll say like a 27-inch long penis. Mm-hmm. And imagine if you went to your prostitute and she was like, well, after the first 6 inches, I have to throttle you. That shit's not cool. You're paying for access. They don't get to choose how much access. And yes, I'm aware that that's probably wildly offensive to some people out there, but that was the best analogy I could come up with off the top of my head.
Yeah, fuck it. That wasn't that bad. But I've never understood why throttling became a thing. Like something tells me someone like because most of the internet plans were free except for Verizon, right? From the beginning, is that correct?
Honestly, I don't know. Probably not really. I mean, I know U.S. Cellular used to charge you for data
Well,
access.
I mean, I shouldn't say free. I mean, you had unlimited.
Oh yeah. A lot of them started out unlimited.
Yeah.
But that was because back in the day, people like, even when Blackberries were first popping out, people didn't use the web that much. Not that you really could on a Blackberry without wanting to shoot yourself in the face.
Yeah. But anyway, so most of them started free, and as it became popular, I'm willing to bet someone said, "Hey, we can tier this to allow or to make more money off of it." Well, what do? Well, we offer these plans, and then we charge them after this rate, kind of like we do with minutes. Okay. Well, let's look at the average, and we won't offer anything above this. Why? Because why offer it when you're going to have this amount of people using much more than that, and then we can charge them for it? Good point. And we can also keep the rates down, or we can keep our influx of funds high if we just don't upgrade our stuff. So we're going to have them running on old networks and things like that, and they're going to be paying ungodly amounts for what they can get. And it's like, okay, I'm fairly positive that is exactly what happened, and I blame Verizon because those fuckers charge everything or charge money for everything. Oh, you want to dial a number? That's going to cost you. Oh, you want to take a picture with your phone? That's going to cost you. Oh, you want to put music on your phone? Guess what? That's going to cost you.
But see, they've like brainwashed their diehard customers into thinking again that it's about the access. They're like, well, our network's great. It never drops calls. Our network's all over the fucking place. And I'm like, that's cool for you, bro. But how long is that excuse gonna work? I mean, how long are you gonna be paying because their network's done? It's pretty much done. You shouldn't have to keep paying ridiculous prices for them to build it anymore. It's done.
Yeah, they can increase the power output of it. Just so you.
In 1996, it was worth paying more to be on Verizon because they had wider coverage, but now it's not because most of the other people are pretty close to catching up.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that rumor about Sprint is true. That Japanese, well, they were bought by a Japanese company, but that company's coming in. They're restructuring the entire network to show us what we should have. They're basically structuring us like one of the Japanese networks, which is going to be fantastic because unlimited access for cheap cost that is theoretically faster and stronger than everything around.
Well, that's why I like Sprint anyway. Like I worked more or less
right now
for
their
them
signal
for a month,
is shit.
But it kind of blew my mind that they were willing to offer their data for free, or not for free, but like unlimited, no overages and stuff. But like the thing I didn't like about the whole like having overages and having a cap and throttling, and the main business practice that's in that line of thinking that bothered me the most was with U.S. Cellular, which I worked with them, and they do a really good job of treating their customers fairly. But when it came to data, man, like the rate at which they charge for data overages is higher than you would have paid to get that amount of data on the plan. So like, let's say your data plan was like $20 a month for 5 gigs. If you went over by 5 gigs, your overage would be like $200.
That's
your
insane.
overage never should have been more than 20 because 20 is all you paid for the first 5.
Well, and
why would you pay more than 20 for the second 5? That's what I didn't get about it.
Yeah. Well, not to mention like it's
and they can cut you off. That's the other thing. Even if you pay your overages every month, like let's say you went over consistently 2 gigs every month you went over, even if you're paying it, they can still cut you off. It's in your contract that, hey, you're using too much. We can cut it off and deny you data, but still charge you for data. That's the other thing is you still have a smartphone, so they're still going to charge you for data, but they're just not going to let you use it. They'll cut you off. Like, In every other aspect, U.S. Cellular was completely fair with their customers. And to be fair, they may have changed this by now. This is just when I worked for them, like 2 years ago. But that, like, their data policies were just mind-bogglingly cruel. I just didn't understand it. The other thing I never understood about these companies is like AT&T, the big companies that are national carriers, is like you're paying the same amount for data in some backwoods where you might be getting like 2x speed as somebody in like Los Angeles getting like 74G. They're paying like the same for their data package as you. I'm sorry, like if you have shitty data coverage, there should be like an amount knocked off my bill for the fact that you have shitty coverage in my area.
Oh
That's
yeah,
just
no,
thing.
I absolutely agree. Like, I'm with Sprint at the moment, but I live in Cary, and Cary has somehow figured out how to be like the deadest of dead zones, but it's really weird because. So what are the network basic throttles as you move through areas? It's normally a 4G, 3G, Edge, and nothing, right? Is there anything between Edge and 3G?
Yeah, I mean they call that like 2x in a lot of places, but no, I'm pretty sure that it jumps from 2x to 3G.
Yeah. Okay, so I can go for a walk, and I'm not fucking kidding you. I can go for a walk in suburbia, and I will have 4G connection, no connection, 3G connection, no connection, Edge connection, 4G connection, no connection. And it will jump like that, and all I have to do is walk like 300 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, it is fucking ridiculous. Like, I have no idea why there are so many dead zones in this area, but I've been on a call with you while I'm just driving around, like, from the grocery store and back to home. I get an instant drop just because I have turned a corner. And it was like, yeah, no, you had signal. Not anymore. And I wish I could just...
Cell towers generally only have a coverage area of about a 2-mile radius.
Yeah, and it might be because there are, like, houses everywhere, and they don't want to ruin the aesthetic of the town. But that said,
well, I mean, cell towers don't even have to be huge. They're really small now. I mean, you can attach them to the top of a tree, really, if you didn't care about it getting any kind of damage that would be applicable from that. You don't really need the huge ones anymore. Sprint tends to build a lot of bigger ones because they have, and at least until they phase it out, because they bought out Nextel, they had to have so many different bands of frequency to cover.
Oh, right.
But they were in the middle of restructuring that, and I think they're going to phase out their WiMAX that they used to use for their 4G and replace it with like LTE.
Gotcha.
So that they can have like smaller cell sites. But yeah, no, in general they should have towers as as spread out as they can so that they cover a lot of area. But unfortunately in a lot of places they don't. Like T-Mobile here, you'll hit like a random street where I guess like they have two towers and they don't quite overlap, so you fall into this little gap where the towers don't cover you. Or something.
To be totally honest with you, I think it would be more cost effective. Although, remember, we're dealing with a capitalistic setup here. But it would be more cost effective for a third party company to come in, build all the towers, and then lease those out to all of the cell phone providers, and you run all the same signals through all the same towers. Because right now, like if Verizon puts up a tower, that's excellent.
Oh, they kind of do that more or less now. A lot of the companies have contracts to where if I drive into an area that's not got T-Mobile, I'll be on Verizon's towers or whatever, but I don't get charged roaming or anything like that.
Right.
They still give me access. Yeah, when if you're in a city, a lot of the times you're probably not on one of your own network's towers. That's just they have these deals.
Well, no.
And that's where with
what
cell phone companies you can have little like third-party companies come up and actually compete. Like earlier you were talking about cable companies. No one can really compete with a company that's got like 75, 100-year advantage on you plus all that money.
Yeah.
You can't you can't really come in and compete with Comcast or Time Warner.
No.
The amount of money it would take for you to start your business would be crazy. But with cell phones, you can actually pay to have access to a company's towers and then start your own like third party business like Cricket. I forget whose
Oh yeah.
towers they use.
They use
Uh,
Sprint and AT&T's.
but like one that I'm gonna swap over to at the beginning of the year probably just because of how cheap it is every month. Is called Republic Wireless, and they're actually based out of North Carolina, but they use Sprint's towers when they're not able to use Wi-Fi because when you buy your phone, they have a special app and programs installed that make it to where your phone will always try to seek out a Wi-Fi connection
Oh yeah, yeah.
to use that.
Well, it's why I'm using the Samsung Galaxy 3. Like I continuously have my Wi-Fi set up, but every time I enter a new area, I check to make sure that there's an open Wi-Fi, and I automatically connect. That way, when I travel, I have to do a lot of the footwork, but when I travel, it'll just jump from Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi, and I use less, or I have a better internet connection that way. Which is
Yeah,
nice.
but see these phones actually they'll route your voice and your texts over the Wi-Fi because
Oh.
they actually they came up with T-Mobile has a program where I can use voice over the Wi-Fi if I want to. Like if I'm in a place where there's absolutely no cell signal, I can connect to Wi-Fi and still make calls. But this company actually like they done work with like Google Voice and a bunch of other companies that use like that kind of technology. So they're really into it. They're really good at what they do. So your phone generally will operate on Wi-Fi for texts, calls, internet. But then if you're in an area where there's no open Wi-Fi for it to automatically hop onto, you use Sprint's towers because they've signed a contract with Sprint. You buy a phone. It's a no contract company, which is great. And you buy your phone from them, and the phone they still the amazing thing is most places when you don't have a contract like T-Mobile, you end up paying the full price of the phone and then some for the most part because you don't have a contract. Now they'll put you on a payment plan so you don't have to pay $600 up front, but like you still end up by the time you're done with the payment plan you've paid for the phone. This company's still subsidizing it. Like they're getting the Moto X in November, and that's like a $700 phone if you go buy it from like Sprint or T-Mobile or anyone like that. If you buy the phone outright at retail, even if you go online and buy it, it's a $500, $600, $700. You buy it from this company, they're going to subsidize part of it, so you only pay $300. Then their plans are $20 a month for unlimited data. They don't throttle you, and unlimited calls and texts. The only catch really with their deal is that you can't really do picture messages because the technology for whatever reason the technology limits them from being able to shoot pictures over Wi-Fi through cell towers. But it does text and voice just fine, and you can still you can still do pictures through like Facebook messages and things like that.
Oh, nice.
Just not as like a MMS. You can't send it as a picture text. But yeah, I mean, $20 a month. I'll give it a try, especially since it's no contract.
Oh yeah,
I figure worst case scenario, I pay $300 for a Moto X, use it for a month. If I hate the thing, I can always turn around and still flip the brand new like Moto X and sell it, get most of my money back, and then just try someone else.
Well, and I mean, and like you said, you've been in the cell phone business, so you can help shine some clarity on this, other than the fact it's a big fuck you. But contract-based systems. I'm not against signing a contract in order to have a service provided to me, but if the contract is just for the service, and the reason the contract is so high is to basically help you pay off your phone. Here's what I also want in that contract. I don't want to pay extra to, oh shit, my phone's broken, I have to go buy a new one. I want the contract to specifically state, when I walk in with my broken phone, I get up to the equality of what my phone is. And if my phone is no longer an option, you will upgrade me to the newest. Or to that is just above it. I'm not really sure how that should work. But I shouldn't have to pay insurance to take care of that shit. Because most cell phone providers, they have the phones there, but really they're like Yeah, but we didn't make it, so we're kind of a retail store at this point. We don't vouch for those products, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. Two, if I'm going, I would prefer a non-contract base because let's face it, this should be really simple. You don't pay your bill, you get your power turned off. You don't pay your cell phone bill, you get your phone turned off. Why does it cost me extra to get my shit turned back on? Okay, maybe because of there's a turn on fee. Other than that, I shouldn't have to be dealing with overcharges or extreme late fees. If I'm not paying my bill, turn my fucking shit off. I don't need a contract to kind of suck me in. And if I don't want to be with you anymore, I don't need a contract to kind of back that up. So just cut my shit off. Number 3, if you're going to offer a plan like that, offer shitty phones that are like $40 instead of only $500 phones. Just saying. You know. And I shouldn't have a problem when I go in and say, hey, look, I need to downgrade my plan. Oh, sorry, we can't do that. We can only do upgrades. Well, why can't I need to step it back because I'm not using all of the services provided. Well, yeah, sorry, you're kind of stuck with those. But I don't need them. Yeah, still. Just, it annoys the shit out of me.
Yeah. Well, the way the contract system was designed is instead of selling you the phone for retail cost, where you wouldn't have a contract, they subsidize it. So you get your $600 iPhone for $100. But the way they make that money up is by you signing a contract saying that you'll stay with them for 2 years. The reason they won't replace it if you break it is because then that means they lose money out of their own pocket, which companies don't tend to like to do.
But
which is why they offer you the overpriced shitty insurance. And the insurance is a fucking crock to me too. Like if I have insurance on my phone, I should get a brand new phone.
Absolutely agree.
Like I know that's not cost effective for them because you pay your $8 and then next month you break it. You've only given them $8 and they have to replace a $600 phone. Well, that's not fair. I know, but that's how all insurance is designed because then you have for every one person who does that, you have like 100 people who never break their phone and they're just wasting their insurance money.
Yeah.
But instead, the way these insurance companies work is they send you a refurb phone. You get a phone that's been broken or whatever by someone else before that's been used that they send off to the factory and refurbish it.
I'm okay with using refurbs because normally refurbs are because that one problem was taken care of by hand because most of the time it's you can't
say that, West, because you think you know, but trust me, I've worked and those refurbs that come in aren't good. Like I've had dozens of customers where we've had to send their refurbs off like 3, 4, 5 times to get replacements because they don't work. They come in and the fucking operating system's wonky and the shit will just randomly like restart every 5 minutes or where the screen goes out and never comes back on. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, if they were refurbs, like you go to Woot or something and you buy a computer that's been refurbed, you can be pretty sure you're getting a decent computer.
Gotcha.
It's not like that. They don't have like a super great vetted process for a lot of these things.
Gotcha.
The refurb phones are shit.
Well, yeah, don't get me wrong. I've got a bunch of refurb stuff because if I go to an outlet store and it's like, oh, these are refurb, I'm like, okay, so these came from a place that they had to crack these open, fix the problem, and put them back together. And if there were additional problems, like they tested it, this one has been tested, it has been approved, they have shipped it back out. Most of the time, that's the kind of quality you get with refurbs. I understand the additional complaint that if you get a refurb, it's broke once. There's nothing saying that was the only bad part that they had to fix. So I get that. But as an overall, like, I'm pretty comfortable getting refurb stuff. Don't get me wrong. That phone situation or the Xbox 360 situation, not so much. Yeah, but here isn't it in the 2-year contract, and because of how much the phone cost, the additional cost for the phone is paid out within the first year of that contract, correct? Like the
I mean, it depends on the model of phone, because a lot of times the subsidy on the phone isn't that great. Like, you might get a little, like the flip phones are really, they make a lot of money on those, because you're paying $20 for a flip phone that would have retailed for like 100.
yeah,
So they've made their money back in like 2 months,
right.
and then the other 22 months is just pure profit. But something that's like a really really expensive model of phone, that's part of the reason U.S. Cellular wouldn't get in with the iPhone, and I don't know if they have yet or not. But like Apple wanted such like a steep, like one-sided type contract with that, to where they would make almost no money for offering it, because the way Apple looks at it is if you're allowed to carry the iPhone, that's going to boost your business, because people are going to come to your business just to get the iPhone. But the problem with that is, now that the iPhone's almost not even exclusive, you can get it on like everyone. That's not true, because people aren't going to be like, I'm coming here just to get the iPhone. It's like, no, you're not, because you could go there and get the iPhone, or you could go over there and get the iPhone. Like, so Apple's way of looking at it is like completely backwards now. But
and then if something happens to your iPhone, most people are going to go straight to an Apple store, because that's just what's going to happen. All you have turned into basically is a retail position for
pretty much. You lose money on the iPhone.
Yeah, you might get foot traffic, but that's about it.
And that's the way Apple looked at it, is that like, yeah, you may not make any kind of profit on the phones, but you'll get foot traffic. To which U.S. Cellular's like, yeah, but we're only a regional carrier, not a national carrier, so the foot traffic's not going to be that big a deal, so no thanks.
Well, not to mention, iPhone is one of the first phones that I remember that it was people would just go out and buy the phone instead of trying to get it through a contract or anything. They were like, I'm going to go get this phone and I'm going to put it on my service provider. And they were completely comfortable with that. And they were one of the first companies that I remember kind of offering it that way, instead of you going in and to your a cell area and saying, I want that phone. And they were like, well, since you've already got a contract, now it's going to cost you like $300. Where you could walk into Apple and it's just like, I want the iPhone. Here you go, buddy. $500. I want the iPhone without a contract. Still $500. Which is, I mean, nice, but you could go to multiple locations to get that.
Yeah.
But it's Apple. Don't get me wrong, they use server grade hardware, but still, they're the devil. They're an evil company that tries to do good and still fucks that up.
The problem I have with Apple is they seem to think that everybody should have to pay a premium for some shit that they've done. Like people are still paying the premium for the environment, the ecosystem that they created for the iPhone back when it came out. Like, I'm sorry, you're no longer building a product that's cutting edge. Maybe your price should come down just a little bit. Because when I can go buy an Android phone that's like 47 times better and has more advances in technology and does things that your shit still can't do, why would I pay for your phone?
And not to mention,
I mean,
you're putting out a phone every year, all right? And most people, they hang on to their same, if they're lucky, they hang on to their same phone for the length of their 2-year contract. Now, I understand you want to get or you want to place hardware into these devices that will last for fucking ever. But that said, I don't really back that, because frankly, in 2 years, within that 2-year span, the shit that I got brand fucking new is already out fucking dated, and there's new and better stuff with bigger advances in technology. Use the lesser grade equipment, and because I'm going to be tossing the phone out in 2 years. That's just what's going to happen. There's nothing that I would change about that. Like, that's just what's going down. Is in 2 years, my phone is outdated. I'm going to go get the new one, and it lasted because the hardware in it is only supposed to last roughly 2 to 3 years. If it lasts longer than that, great. You got a well-built one. Other than that, I mean, it should brick itself after a year and a half or 2. Well, it should brick itself after about 4 years.
Well, see, I don't agree with that. I think cell phones should last 4, 5, 6 years, and I think they should be designed to where I can go buy upgrade parts for it, just like a fucking computer. If I buy a tower fucking computer, that's a piece of technology. It doesn't brick it. I mean, it only bricks itself if you don't update it.
Mm-hmm.
A tower. Phones shouldn't work that way. There's actually one phone company or one person that came up with a concept for a phone where you could swap those parts out. You should be able to. I shouldn't have to go buy a new phone just because, like, oh, we made a new version of the operating system that now requires 2 gigs, and you're like, well, fuck, mine only has 1. No, it's fuck. I mean, and that just eats up our natural resources because people have to fucking chunk their phone every year. Like, human beings are so fucking stupid. Like 10 years from now, we're gonna be like, why don't we have any more lithium to make this stuff? And we'll be like, oh, because we used it on all these fucking phones.
Hopefully, we're not using lithium anymore. At that point,
Lithium-ion batteries.
well, I mean, let's hope that when that point could theoretically hit, we're already like lithium's old news. We're using.
You're being hopelessly optimistic, West. We have all the technology we need to not rely on fossil fuels, but we still do that, and we'll use those till those are gone.
Well, that's also because of
People will be like,
the
oh, we could
capitalistic
use this
system.
kind of battery, and they'll be like, no, we're gonna use this one until it's fucking gone, because there's probably a huge industry surrounding it that doesn't want to lose any money or invest in anything new. That's the real problem. Is a lot of these companies own patents for the technology that's going to replace them eventually. But
Well,
they
the
don't
reason.
lose money on their other fronts. So fuck it.
You know the reason why none of that has changed. I mean, look at oh, that was scary as balls. Look at the cell phone company. All right. So, do you remember back in the day when cell phones were becoming kind of like the necessity? And Google was like, we're going to give the world a phone for free. And everyone's like, yes! And then all of a sudden, you didn't hear anything else about that. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the service was going to be free. Everything was going to be provided for free. I mean, that was wonderful. Wonderful idea. Let's put a cell phone in everyone's hand. Let's get them all kind of connected. It's brilliant. I respect Google for wanting to do that. And then you don't hear anything about this. Well, what happened? What seemed to have happened is when Google announced it. That's part of the reason why the Nexus even exists. Because they spent a lot of money trying to develop this phone. Because there was going to be the way it was going to pay for all the towering and stuff like that was how did that work again? Was ads. They were going to have some way that you were going to get ads on your phone, which was, I mean, all right. For free fucking service and a up to date phone, like I believe they were going to offer touchscreens to begin with. Yeah, I'll take some ads on my phone for free, for fucking everything free. Yes, give me that shit. But AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, basically all of your big cell phone companies were like, then how do we compete with that? And they were like, that doesn't sound like our problem. And then they said, government help, and then it got shut down.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
And just because, like, they wanted to do something that was legitimately a good idea. Okay, cell phones are the wave of the future. We absolutely agree with you. Let's give an option that allows people to get that. Okay. And we're going to make it free because we don't think it should cost that much. What? Why? Why would you do that? How is our business supposed to work? That doesn't sound like our problem. But it is. Well, we still want to do this, so we're going to go through with it. And then, like, I remember reading about it, and at first, like, the news, there was everything about it. Everything about what Google was doing and how it was crazy, and people were a little worried on how that would work, but as an overall, and then all of a sudden, silence. There was nothing online. There were barely any articles about what was going on, and I happened to stumble into an article on like USA Today or something like that about what happened, and pretty much like AT&T and Verizon and Sprint and all the other cell phone or all the other phone companies stepped in and were like, no, we'll sue the shit out of you for what? For making us not be able to compete. Yeah, that irritates the shit out of me. Because there went a good idea right out the fucking window.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how most good ideas die, is that the people that have a vested interest in not seeing that idea come to light tend to have a lot of money, and they use that money to keep it from happening.
Well, and it's why electric cars haven't been why there hasn't been too much advancement into that, is once they started coming onto the scene, the big oil companies that have been existing for the past, like, 100 years were like, then what are we supposed to do if this is an option to everyone? Doesn't sound like our problem. It is. It is, because it is.
Well, I mean, that's what happened. That's what happened back in 1995. Honestly, now I don't see there being a whole lot to stop electric cars. They're coming out with more and more new models.
Well,
people are
then again,
in bigger
Tesla
cities.
exists.
People are buying them up because they have infrastructure here now.
Yeah. Some cities, other ones not so much. And then you've got Tesla that stepped in and was like, we're going to be all electric. Fuck you bastards. But I think Prius helped push that into existence. Well, if we have to use gas, and I really don't understand how a separated company like that could step in and prevent another company from doing something. Don't get me wrong, I understand it's detrimental to their business model, but that didn't really affect anything when Napster showed up. Napster showed up, the music industry was fucked, and everyone was like, good.
The RIAA, no, they weren't. The RIAA started witch hunting people and scaring people out of. I mean, they didn't scare like most people, but it wasn't.
Hold on.
Enough. It was affecting Napster when it replaced with other things.
Okay.
The problem with the
Hold on, dude.
difference between the internet and like normal technology, anything that pops up on the internet is like a hydra. Like the companies that don't like it, but then two more pop up, where you killed that one.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like, that can't happen in some of these businesses that exist, because they've owned the shit for the better part of ever, and it's nigh impossible for someone to step up and challenge it. And really, who wants to do that?
Well, yeah, on the internet, you're talking about millions of people who are oftentimes anonymous, hidden behind computer screens all over the world.
Bored as
When
hell.
you're talking about something like the electric car, you can target the people that are making that because you know who's making it. You know where they're making it. You know what politicians help them get funding for it. Like you have definite targets you can attack and take down to keep that from coming to fruition.
Fair enough. Which is really sad, because after you've made your money, like, what's the point in continuing to do it?
To continue to make your money, because that's what like oil is. It's a business that's making tons of money. They don't want to stop making tons of money. And the worst part is it's not like something like electric or something like, even if they made it actually viable, hydrogen, things like that, alternatives they're not going to really put much of a dent for a long time in how much oil companies make. But oil, for whatever unwise reason, it seems like oil companies and their stockholders would rather make the maximum amount of money they can make every single day until there's absolutely no fucking oil left, than go ahead and start transitioning to things that they could already be buying and investing in. In fact, some of them, like I said, some of them already are invested in it. Back in like 95 when they had the EV1 and shit, the old electric cars that they were talking about, yeah, this is going to be the wave of the future before they got shut down. Like, I think it was Shell Oil that ended up buying up some of the batteries and shit that they were using. So they owned that guy's patent and his technology. He couldn't even talk about it.
Yeah,
He got in trouble for like giving an interview
I
about.
if I ever invent something, I will go under and maintain my right to talk about what happened over getting out without my dignity. I refuse to allow that to happen. You mean to tell me that you have stepped in, you have prevented this thing, someone asked me what happens, and because you had me sign this piece of paper, I can't talk about it? No, fuck you. No. Just no. I'm a person dealing with a set of people. Fuck you. Hell no. Not gonna let that happen. I will go broke and poor for the rest of my life and then give up my right to say something about what has happened. I do not believe in gag orders.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the problem. A lot of these scientists, they're inventing technology and they're just trying to get it out to the people, and so they don't always realize what's happening to them when companies offer to come in and invest and buy up
Yeah.
their products.
And I understand that you're dealing with, well, in order for me to get this to exist, I'm going to need this help. And it's not going to be used in the way that I want it used. But at least it'll exist. One of the things that irritates the shit out of me is companies will do that. They'll go and invest in somebody, and they're like, okay, now because we have invested in you, we're going to put this on the shelf and never use it. Why? We just wanted to make sure it didn't get out there. We have no problem with it existing, but as long as we own it. Huh? But this is revolution. Yeah, so what? It's no. It'll destroy us. But if you build it, then more money comes in. No, that means we got to change things. And that's a risk I'm unwilling to take. Why are you unwilling to take that risk? Because I can't guarantee anything. So, that's what risk is. Yeah, but no risk. None. That is a stupid way to have any forward progression in any society. If you don't take risk, how the fuck do you expect to be on top of the new shit? I don't understand it. I really fucking don't. It's annoying as hell. People are dumb. Rich people are dumb. Let's rephrase.
Well, it's partially because, sadly, it's law that businesses with shareholders have to provide the maximum amount of profit for them. They have to do everything possible to maximize the profit of the shareholder, and it's incredibly hard to make the argument in court that you're doing what's good for the long run of the business. Even if it's not profitable now, it'll be profitable in the long run. It's incredibly hard to make that argument in court because you're basically making a prediction about the future, which doesn't tend to hold up that well in our legal system.
Well, hence the word prediction. But
that tends to be the problem. Whereas it's very easy for the shareholders to prove, hey, if you cut workers' wages, if you send these jobs to China, if you fuck the customers by 25%, if you jack your profit margin up to 10,000%, it makes us money. It's very easy for them to go into court and say, these are ways that you could be making us money that you're not doing. Do it now or we sue.
Well, I don't understand when enough was no longer enough. I don't get that. I do not get why enough isn't enough.
I think you're like most Americans. I think people are finally starting to wake up a little bit. The problem is you still have all these handsomest politicians who have been bought and sold by these companies, heart, mind, body, and soul, that will go on news and they'll go on the radio and they'll tell you that anything other than the system we have right now is an evil socialist black hole into which our entire American way of life will disappear and disintegrate. And
Well,
it's not true. It's
in a
absolutely
way,
not true
it
that any other
will.
system than what we have is bad.
Well,
And
no.
they always go on, well, don't you want to be rewarded for your hard work? They always make it about hard work, but they never point out that most of the people that have a lot of them, I mean, there are some successful businesses that people put a lot of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears into. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But there are just as many Wall Street bankers that haven't worked a single hard day in their life and have made millions of dollars off of other people's suffering.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you've got the... Oh, crap, you screwed me up. You kept going, and I had an interjection, and I forgot it. But I don't understand where, when you have an idea, you pay for said idea, or you put idea out into world accepts idea, world gives you funding for idea, and it maintains private. The reason why you have shareholders is because in order to deal with rapid expansion, that's what you need to do. It's like, okay, I have this idea that is built on top of this previous idea, but in order for this to become a reality, it's going to take a lot more than what I've got, hence crowdsourcing and other such things. So you bring in shareholders. The thing is, or the thing that I never completely understood, is why when you bring in shareholders, because frankly, all shareholders are doing is loaning you money, why you couldn't just pay them back with a percentage factor and then walk away. And then the shareholders are done. Like, once you've paid off the shareholders, they go away. You still own their business. Or you still own that business. I don't get it. Because in either way, shareholders went out. Either, if the business does well, they continuously make a large amount of money when they already... because they invested a large amount of money into it. Or, if the business folds, they're still covered... Like, they really don't lose any money at all. And if they do lose money, it's a small percentage of their total amount. Very rarely has any shareholder lost everything. I don't fucking understand why. Basically, someone just stepped in. They were like, I want a piece of that pie. And you were just like, okay. I don't understand public trading. I don't understand why people in those positions feel that they need to do that. I mean, frankly, dude, you've got $100 million. Why the fuck are you even investing in anything?
Because it could be $1 billion. Because it could be...
Go have fun with the rest of your life.
It could be $4 billion.
Yeah, but why?
I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I mean, it's greed, but if we could figure out what to cause it, what to do to reverse it, we could fix it. But I think that's the thing. I don't think anybody really understands, like, why there are people that need more than they need.
I don't get why, like, I understand if you have put everything in, I would definitely expect everything to come back to me and a payment factor for that risk, hence the interest. That's what I would want. However, I don't understand where the mindset of, I have $100 million and I have two choices. I can either use that $100 million and have the best possible life I could possibly have, or I can use half of that, start a new sort of business venture to redistribute that money, because frankly, I only need about 10 million and I don't have to work, but I can redistribute this large amount, and I could possibly, yes, the benefit factor would put money back into my pocket, or will replenish that and possibly make me some money on top of it. But there's this product I really like, let me find the cheapest way to make that, and instead of marketing it up high, I just need like a 1% flux past, like, I need to be able to pay everyone, and I need 1% profit. Why is that not enough? I don't fucking understand.
I don't get it either, dude. I mean, that's how I would run a business. That's probably why I've never, had a business to run, is because I don't have the right mindset for it.
Well,
But yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it either, dude. I don't understand why people feel like they have to. Really, what it comes down to is if we had laws controlling profit margins, things would be a lot different. But I think people see profit margins and their eyes and everything fill up with dollar signs, and that's all they think about, like oil. I mean, people are going to constantly invest in that as long as the profit margin on it is ridiculously high, because right now it's one of the most lucrative things you can invest in. You know, as far as a resource goes, it's you get like roughly $30 back for every dollar you put in, or at least you did, you know, 5 or 6 years ago. The
yeah,
last time I looked it up, but yeah, I mean, you get about $30 for every $1 you invest in oil,
that's insane.
and that's part of the reason you don't see people investing in newer technology, because the profit margin isn't there. The profit margin for solar isn't there. You're not going to make $30 for every dollar you invest in solar, so you're not going to get as many investors, and that's where government subsidies come in. You subsidize technology that's not there to get enough investors because it's the right thing to do if it's good technology that we need. Unfortunately, you get politicians that come in and say, no, you can't give out handouts like that, even though they're the same politicians who get money from oil companies who get billions of dollars in government subsidies. But they're arguing against subsidies that would compete with the people that pay them their campaign money.
Yeah. I.
Pot, meet, kettle.
Yeah. Well, and as an overall, like I personally want a separation between uh, government and business influence. A government should be there to govern the accessibility of all people and should not be able to be persuaded, and all of the loopholes for people to be able to acquire money within this government program should there should be a cap on it. Don't get me wrong, like I understand in situations like Google, Facebook, a bunch of other businesses, sometimes you can't cap something that just kind of goes off insanely well. I get that. But in things that have I guess, a prediction factor or something that's been running for a while, there should be a, like, okay, get out. Like, you've got X amount of dollars to leave. Or, I don't know, why...
Well,
how does
the way it should work is we need a system kind of like Germany where we cap off CEO and upper level management pay, because like in Germany, I want to say it's 12, but they're not allowed to make like 12 more than 12 times what their base level employee makes, which means if for whatever reason the company has a really fantastic year and that CEO wants to get paid more, he has to give everyone else a raise too.
Yeah.
And that's how it should work here. If your business is wildly successful and you make millions of dollars, the employees that help make it happen, they deserve a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you should have to give them a part of that. And that only helps everybody, because when you give the working class, you give the middle class money, they go out and spend it, which is what drives the economy.
You're talking crazy.
If you give one guy who's already a millionaire $1 million, chances are he's not really gonna spend it. If you give $1 million to, like, you know, 1,000 people and spread it out, they're gonna go out and spend that shit. They're gonna buy cars. They're gonna pay mortgages. They're gonna buy TVs. They're gonna do that shit.
They're gonna upgrade their stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't understand that mindset. Like, I've had conversations with people who have that business mindset, and I respect them for having a business mindset. But aside from that, oh damn it. Sorry, I'll get to that in a minute. I respect people who have that business mindset, but I've had conversations with them, and it's like, no, the point is to make money. Why? Because I don't want to have to ever worry about money again. So when is there enough? No, I never want to have to worry about money again. You know, you can get robbed or whatever. And I'm like, so you want to make an insane amount of money and then continue making that insane amount of money so that you never have to worry about anything.
Yeah, and see, to me that's not justified. But not just that, like I think that's the wrong way of viewing business. I've had a couple business classes just because, like, one I was forced to take in high school, and another one I had to take for whatever god awful reason at college. And so much of the shit just comes off to me anyway as common sense. But to me, a business mindset, in my mind, should involve you just not making poor choices with your money.
Yes, I agree.
I don't exactly. I don't agree. Like, nothing in running a business requires you to make tons of money. All it requires, all a successful business requires is for you to make good decisions with what you do with your money, and that if you're making good decisions, you will profit. You may not be wildly profitable, but as long as you're profiting, isn't your business technically a success?
Well, not to mention, like, when we had the economy crash, a lot of businesses did not know how to lower their standards. So they were trying to get 10, 12, 20% off, 20 to 30% out of the people who had no money, and were wondering why they weren't having the same profit margins the prior year before. Instead of looking at it and going, oh, people don't have money, maybe we should lower our standard, because as long as we're making profit. I mean, that's why a lot of businesses went through, like, CEO after CEO after CEO. And
And a lot of times it requires you to be willing to have a lower margin of profit. Like, when the economy goes into hard times, you can't all of a sudden be expecting to make the same amount of profit. Your focus should switch to keeping your doors open.
Yeah, I don't understand any of those mindsets. People with those mindsets should be frankly shot.
That's a bit violent.
Have you met me?
Well, fair enough.
But,
No, I don't think that there's anything in that personality type that benefits society as a whole. I'll agree with you on that. Like, I don't see how those types of people benefit the group. I really don't, because they're out for themselves.
Well,
I mean, to some extent, some capitalist arguments do hold up. We're like, well, if they're making money, they're generating money, they're offering jobs, and to an extent, the job creator argument it treads water. Like, but are they good jobs? Are they paying the workers well enough to where those workers can go out and be functioning members of society and the economy? Because otherwise, you're essentially just giving people somewhere to spend their time. Like, McDonald's isn't creating people that help capitalism, because those people are getting paid so little, they're barely paying anything other than their essentials.
Well, not to mention the food selection is poor. The service actually isn't that bad. I've never been in a McDonald's. Well, I've been in one or two McDonald's, and I'm just like, man, fuck this place. But as an overall, like, especially after they did the aesthetic step up, like, it's not a bad place. But then again, maybe it's because, like, yeah, I've eaten fast food for a while, but there has never been in my mind, I want to go sit at fucking McDonald's. I want to sit at McDonald's. I want to have my soda, coffee, whatever, and watch the news because it's available, and that's how I'm going to spend my afternoon. There is nothing in my head that says I want to do that. Like, I would rather go to a bar and pull that off, because a bar, you kind of sit there, you get to socialize with people. It has a different environment. You can aesthetically upset it, but you still have that, I guess, stigma or feeling that McDonald's is not a place that you just hang out. You don't. There's nothing about it that feels welcoming. It feels like get your shit and get out.
Well, my thing is, if they have the money to do that, where's the money to pay their employees? Like, if they have the money to invest in this, but they don't have it to invest in their workers, some of them have been there for years, hoping to get, like, a manager job or something like that just never ends up happening. Why can't you invest in your employees? That's what I don't understand. Like, where's the reward for years of service?
And I know there's been quite a lot of changes to Obamacare since it's been initially presented, but one of the biggest pro arguments that I've heard is, okay, so all of these companies are mad because Obamacare is basically forcing you to do what you should have been doing in the first place.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't totally get. Like,
The thing I think is laughably funny about the people that don't like the Affordable Care Act, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of shit that I don't like
oh
about
yeah,
it. Uh, but I wouldn't like. A lot of people call it socialism, and it's not. Like,
well,
it's not remotely socialism because it's still generating money for companies. Insurance companies are still getting money. Actually, they're making out like bandits because
Yeah.
now all of a sudden people have to have insurance.
oh, and the rates they shot all their rates up. By the way, a lot of them
Well,
did.
not all of them, just certain age groups, mostly younger people that make money. Fortunately, I'm not a younger person that makes money. I make just enough that I would actually get subsidies. My rates went down. Last time I looked, it would have cost me over $200 a month to have basic insurance. Now I can get it for like $80. So it helped more people than it's hurt. But that's not remotely socialist. The only thing that remotely resembles socialist policy as far as healthcare goes would be to have a single payer system. But people that don't want this, that's their way of attacking it, is to scare people by saying it's socialism, because we have a whole generation of people like our parents that were raised during the Red Scare, during the Cold War, to hate anything to deal with the word socialist or communist. They don't let most of these people couldn't give you a definition of either of those terms, but they know that when they hear it, it's bad.
Yeah.
But the other thing, that if you talk to a normal person on the street and say, "Hey man, what do you think about American healthcare? Do you think we should deny coverage to people with pre-existing conditions?" They'll be like, "No, fuck no." Like, "Do you think being a woman should cost more just because you're a woman?" They'd be like, "Fuck no, that's stupid." You'd be like, "Don't you think everybody should have access to healthcare that's affordable?" "Yeah, that's fucking awesome." "Well, what do you think about the Affordable Care Act?" "Nah, fuck that shit. That's fucking socialism."
Well,
I mean, those are all things that the Affordable Care Act does, and that these people would like to see in our healthcare system, but they've been brainwashed, mostly by shit like Fox News, into thinking that it's the most evil thing on the planet Earth,
Well-
when all it does is accomplish things that everybody can agree we shouldn't be accomplishing with our healthcare system.
Well, and we've had conversations about this. Is socialism really that bad? I mean, the thought process of absolutely pure socialism is everybody is doing what's best for everyone else, in addition to themselves. So, in that same aspect, we all help each other rise, which is really funny because when we look back at what we were taught from children, you need to share, you need to help people when they were down, you need to stand up for those that can't, etc., etc., etc. All these values that we cherish are basically thrown out the window once we hit like 15.
Oh yeah, you're not supposed to you're supposed to believe those things when you're a kid, Wes. But when you grow up, fuck that. Every man for himself. I mean, it's the most backwards thing ever. You're told by your parents, you're told by your religious leaders, you're told by your school that you're supposed to behave one way, and then when you go out into your adult life, it's like, no, fuck that. Every man for himself. And it's like, well, wait, when did it change? Because I was told that that's not how we do things. That No, and I don't think we need a pure socialist economic system. I don't believe that. I don't think it can work. Just like a pure capitalist system can't work. I think we need to find some happy balance of the two, because believe it or not, some of the things in a capitalist system, allowing people to go out and profit, in some cases wildly, from their ideas, that's a good thing, because that spurs innovation. We get new technologies that way. Someone's like, "Man, how can I make money? How can I make money?" And then he invents PayPal.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have things like that. In some cases, people invent things, they come up with new things just because it's the right thing to do, or just because they were bored, or just because they had an idea.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it does happen because people know they can go out and make a lot of money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
But by that same token, we need policies on the socialist end to say, well, you can make money on it, but you can't make 18,000 times what your employee makes. You have to give them some of it, because they're the ones that are actually making your product.
Yeah.
We need to temper one with the other. We need capitalism to say, well, we don't have to give everybody the same amount of money, and we need socialism to say, yeah, but we need to give everybody some money.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then again, how do you expect, like, okay, here's an even better argument. To those who like making money, I commend you for the fact that you have this aggressive personality to push something forward in a much more accelerated manner than what would have previously been done. And that, for you people, I thank you. Because without you guys being basically greedy, there are some things that we just still wouldn't have today. That said, if you don't invest in the possibility of a new idea, how do you expect to make more money? Just an odd kind of a circle, you know. Just you want something to stay a certain way, but when it starts dropping off the market, if you don't, I mean, honestly, look at Apple. Apple has figured out how to maintain a high growth rate, an extremely high growth rate, because they control everything and they put out new stuff, and they understand that they have to keep advancing it in a realistic manner in order for people to continuously buy money, or to continuously buy their product and hand them over their monies. Just saying, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. Just it's a big, complex system, and it requires a lot of reform. And the problem is we have a political system that's being controlled by the things that we need to reform.
No.
And there's no way. I don't see a logical way for us to surpass that. And unfortunately, they're able to harness people's madness because and their anger, because you look at that's what the Tea Party was elected on. They were elected on a bunch of white people being mad about government spending and also being mad that the president's black. But that's what they latched onto. Government spending's out of control. We need reform. And so they confused a bunch of really stupid, uneducated, uninformed people, and they used that to get elected. But the people that got elected were being backed by billionaires. The Koch brothers pretty much founded the Tea Party. And, you know, they know how to use people. They know how to use a lack of information and a lack of education. So people voted in these Tea Party lunatics that have shut our government down, and they were elected based on people knowing that they needed reform and change, but they elected the wrong people to do it. Because they were tricked.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand the Tea Party as an overall. Like, they spoke, and someone said, "You are correct." I'm just like,
well, I mean,
what?
Here's the problem with the Tea Party. Here's where the Tea Party. Here's what essentially created the Tea Party. You had a black man win as president. That made a lot of white people not happy.
I don't understand why.
But these white people were not happy because their Republican Party wasn't able to beat the black man. How did this happen? So they essentially created a new party, a Tea Party. Even though it was funded by billionaires, they think it was grassroots. Like, we're grassroots. Do you know who paid for this meeting today? No, it's grassroots. Well, we've followed the paper trail, and it seems that this whole thing was paid for by the Koch brothers. But okay, if you want to think it's grassroots, that's fine too. And so they essentially got new Republicans that were even crazier, even less educated, even less informed, even less able to govern, to try to replace the old Republicans, because the old Republicans just weren't working anymore because they weren't able to beat the black man. And the thing they latched onto is that apparently the black man's spending so much more money. He isn't. And apparently the deficit's so bad. It isn't. That they got these people elected to fix these problems, but they don't realize what government spending is. They're like, we need to cut this program and this program and this program. You know, and they're saying that while they're in an electric scooter because they're like 90-year-old racist white people. They're like in an electric scooter that was paid for by fucking Medicare, which is they just elected somebody who's going to try to cut that.
Shut up and die already, damn!
Like, are you mentally challenged? Do you not realize that the government is paying for your health care and that wheelchair that you're using right there? And yet you're going to elect this moron who doesn't know anything about science but still somehow managed to end up on a science committee in the government? Like, you're going to elect that person and he's going to cut your stuff? Are you stupid? Are you insane? Because those are really the only two options I can come up with for your situation right now. Is that you're either stupid or you're insane.
I do agree with you, and unfortunately, and I'm a contributing factor to this, the people that basically should be assisting in the majority of preventing this from happening don't. And understandably, what I would consider the rational set looks at the parties that are kind of out there and goes, "You're crazy. I'm just gonna keep myself away from crazy." And understandably, it's a natural reaction. But other than that, I think there's a general consensus of people going, "Hey, I don't think you're going to fuck up that bad. Like, you're gonna fuck up. I can see that happening, but you're not gonna fuck up that bad." And we don't give a shit because, like, us. Our age group basically is like, hey, I have important things like, I don't know, trying to pay my bills. And some of us have kids. Well, a lot of us by this age time have kids. And we're just like, yeah, I've got a little crying piece of shit child at this moment. And he is way more important than you making noise behind a podium. Whatever. Just you handle your shit. I'm going to handle mine. And at some point, there's a series of situations that just make us go, Soap and Pippa, for example. Those bills came up and people were like, wait a minute, I see what you're doing there. No. And then our generation kind of stepped in and yelled really loud. And they were like, oh shit, these people aren't playing. But then again, we back down, and at some point there's going to be somebody who steps in, does something so fucked up, and we're just like, oh damn. Yeah, we are never gonna let that happen again. But we just stand off.
The thing I don't get is voter apathy. I really don't get, like, Corey is someone who's completely apathetic. He doesn't vote at all.
I don't either.
And I don't understand that mentality. I mean, there's no logical argument you could make for doing that. He always says, well, I think both parties are the same, blah, blah, blah. That, to me, is an incredibly lazy way to think about it. It's an incredibly lazy way out. Because it takes all of the burden off of you for having to look up what the politician believes and what they're going to do. And yeah, you may not agree 100% with, like, I'm not a Democrat, but I can look at most of them that are running for office and see that they're going to fuck things up far less than the other person, and I realize that I should probably go out and vote for them, just if for no other fucking reason than to keep the other guy from winning, so that things get, if not get better, at least don't get worse. But see, that's the problem. You've got a bunch of apathetic people like Chris who would probably have
dude, I never voted.
He would have kept
that, right? I've never voted.
He would have kept, like, see, like you would have been one of thousands of people that, if they had gone to vote, probably could have kept Governor Pat McCrory from ruining North Carolina. You know, people say time travel is not possible, but fucking Governor Pat McCrory has proven that it exists because he's taken North Carolina back to 1845.
Yeah, you noticed that.
I'm pretty sure eventually people are going to be back in horse-drawn carriages, or minorities are going to be calling the people at the Governor Mansion massa. I mean, that's essentially what they're doing to my home state now. And I'm glad I'm not there, because I'd have probably been arrested.
Well,
because I'd have gone to those Monday marches and I'd have protested, because that type of shit, it It's insane. And yeah, his opposition may not have been perfect, but if enough people voted for that opposition just based on the fact that they didn't want the fucking insane crazy one to win, things may not have gotten better, but they wouldn't be getting worse like they are now.
To be totally honest with you, I just don't pay attention. I don't pay attention to any of it. Just politics.
See, in the day and age of the internet, there's no excuse not to. Like,
Well,
you don't have
that's
to
just
go out
it.
and buy a paper. You don't have to
No,
go to a
you're-
library and
I'm
pull
not
out
saying-
encyclopedias.
I'm not saying that I can't get the information. It's just saying I don't pay attention to it. I don't. It isn't something that I frankly want to waste my time with. And don't get me wrong, I understand at some point, like, that's gonna wind up fucking me. I've been fairly lucky, but it's an area in which I don't feel I can really make a lasting effect, and in what I am doing and want to do, if I start getting involved in this, it will eat my time. Like, it will become the wow of my life, because I will eventually get pissed, and then I will do shit, and I will do shit very badly. Well, in a positive manner, but it will eat my life. I don't want
But see,
that.
that's the thing. A lot of people I've talked to that don't vote, like, one of the excuses they use is, well, I just don't really see how it affects anything. And I'm like, are you kidding? Politics affects everything. Who you elect determines whether or not we get funding for life-saving technologies. Because if you elect Tea Party people, they cut funding to cancer research and shit like that because it's not essential. Our tax dollars shouldn't pay for that.
Until they get cancer.
They oppose stem cell research because apparently some imaginary skyman tells them it's bad until one of their heroes could benefit from it.
Frankly,
Because so many of them flipped around and were like, when Reagan or whoever it was, I think it was Reagan, could have benefited from it. And it's like, so, 6 months ago when you're like, it's the evil, most satanic thing on the face of Earth, but now you're for it. That's not, bold-faced hypocrisy.
no, and it's not even about Big Sky Man says it's bad. It's more of the mindset of, does this make us the Big Sky Man? I can't deal with that. I cannot deal with the fact that I could possibly do what Skyman did.
When people get elected that don't believe in science, that affects things. Even if even if you agree with like most of what that person says, if they don't believe in science, they're going to do fucked up things.
Honestly,
there's a guy on like that. I think it's the House Committee for like to determine scientific shit. And I don't remember exactly what it's called. And I really don't feel like googling it right now because I've got a headache. But anyway, he's on one of those science-based committees, and this motherfucker said that if we install wind turbines, it's gonna essentially going to use up all of our wind resources, and that will cause global warming. And see, that's the thing. The people that say that the parties are the exact same. The people that say the parties are the exact same.
Somebody believed that you could eat up a wind resource?
Yeah, let me see if I can find the exact quote. I'll Google it.
I mean, okay, let's put this into context. The idea of a wind resource is air, something you can't visibly see, is moving past an object, causing it to spin and generate a power most of the time. Within that same aspect, you can catch it within tubing, and you can actually increase wind speed by giving it a narrower field to go down. We know this because we have built cities, and that's why they have a higher amount of wind around taller buildings. Okay, so you can eat that up by... I honestly cannot think of a way to stop wind from happening. Can you? How do you stop wind? Like, I can stop a fucking river. Beavers taught us how to do that. And not the good beaver, like the little animal thing. But how? And then you've got, like, trees and shit. You can extinct You can make those extinct because we've done that. We were like, oh shit,
Okay.
we killed that off.
Okay, he's from Texas. His name is Joe Barton,
I've heard that name.
and he says wind is a finite resource, and harnessing it would slow down the winds, which would cause the temperature to go up. Okay, for people out there whose brain cells have just died a little bit, let's approach this bit by bit. Wind is a finite resource. Well, I'm pretty sure that's fucking wrong.
Wind
Wind is caused by the uneven heating of the surface of the planet Earth, and as such, not really finite. Might change from time to time, but we can't really make it go away.
we can make
Harnessing
stronger.
it would slow down the winds.
Wind's kind of unstoppable force. Like,
No.
Well, I mean, you can put something in
Okay.
front of it, but it normally goes either up, around, or down.
Okay. So we've already established we can't really slow down the winds.
As a matter of
Because
fact,
if we
can
could,
increase its speed.
there would be no more trailer parks torn apart every year in Oklahoma. So we've established that we can't really slow them down, which pretty much makes the last part of the statement moot, which would cause the temperature to go up. Because that doesn't happen if you can't slow the wind. The most logically bankrupt statement a human being has said or made since legitimate rape. But yeah, he's the House author of the Energy Policy Act of 2005 and the chairman of the House Senate Energy Conference Committee. That's what he was on. Yeah. It should fucking worry people that these kind of people are in charge of these kind of things. Maybe this guy was a veteran teacher or a veteran education administrator for 50 years. Put him on that committee. But if he doesn't believe in kind of fucking science and is completely inept at energy policy, why is he on a fucking committee for it?
Well,
Like,
that statement.
How did that happen?
That statement is the equivalency of saying, if we should not invest in solar power because we will eat up all the sun's rays.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's the logical. I'm surprised someone's not said that. But see, this goes back to my point of voter apathy. People like Chris always say that the two parties are exactly the same. There's no point in voting for either one. What party do you think this guy's in? This guy ain't a fucking Democrat. If you can tell the difference that easy, if you can hear a quote and know that it was some fucking donkey fucking Republican from Texas, if you can know that, then you have an obligation in your head to admit that the two parties are not the same. And I'm not a Democrat. But at least I know they're not that fucking crazy. I mean, that's crazy. I can't even call that quote stupid. Because it's not. It's so stupid it has crossed into this guy needs to be in a padded fucking room. That's crazy. That means you have no logical grasp of the world around you. That means you don't understand what reality is. And if you've reached that point, we need to pump you full of lithium and throw you in a padded room. We certainly don't need to be letting you govern anything. If you believe you can see Russia from your backyard in Alaska, you don't need to govern anything, Sarah Palin. You need to be in a padded room.
Well, let's be honest. Part of the real issue, and this is where my stance is. I understand Chris's argument to a point because I've made the same one. In addition to that, I frankly don't believe a fucking thing that is ever said by a single politician because they can have all the best interest in the world, and if our last election didn't show you that for president, their policy changes consistently to get backers. If you have a fucking stance, stay on top of it. I mean, who was the
Not all of them are like that. Look at Elizabeth Warren. Look at Bernie Sanders. These are good people that have consistently stood up for the things that they believe in.
I'm not disagreeing with you. But I am saying that
And
it's
the
more
way they vote is
consistent.
public record. That's what I don't get. You have somebody like Mitch McConnell who has voted consistently against the Violence Against Women Act every time it's come up for reauthorization. And just because he was one of the original people that like voted for it, he goes on campaign trails and tells people that he's all about being pro women. But all it takes is for someone to do 2 seconds of research and be like, well, then why did you vote against it every single other time? That's not pro-woman at all.
And this is the other issue that I have with a lot of these types of bills that do good things. What else is in that? Because hands down, it's not just that. There's a lot of stuff within that bill, and unfortunately, what might be suffering is the good cause, but what is he stopping? And it's consistent. It is fucking consistent that every time something good comes up, it is fucked up because they attach something terrible to it.
That's not true. That's not always true. Like, not every single thing that gets passed has earmarks. And even if they do, it's not always bad earmarks. But essentially, you're making the argument that you're not voting at all based on something that either person is going to do. You're saying that you're not going to vote for this guy because he'll do it, but if you don't vote for him and the other guy wins, the other guy's going to do it too.
Well,
that's not a logical. You've still not made a logical argument as to why you shouldn't vote.
I haven't finished. Aside from that, I can understand Corey's argument.
Here, let me turn the argument on its head.
Wait.
Let me. You're saying reasons why you don't vote, none of which I believe hold any kind of logical water at all. But let me put a different argument to you.
All right.
What do you hope to accomplish by not voting?
Nothing.
How do you think that fixes anything?
I'm not.
You admit that the system's broken, but you're not willing to do anything to fix it, which technically makes you complacent or complicit in its being broken in the first place. If you're not actively at least trying to fix it, and you know that it's broken,
I don't care that it's broken. I will admit it's fucked up, but I don't want to get involved. Yes, I'm involved in the system that's happening, but I don't want to be involved in it.
You should be involved in it.
But
What if you have children one day? Do you not care about their future? Like right now, you not voting and let's say a bunch of people not voting leads to a bunch of these inbred hillbilly. Yes, that was Link. Inbred hillbilly donkey fucking believe in imaginary skymen Republicans for 2, 3, 4 election cycles, and let's say they eventually legalize it to where hanging and murdering gay people is okay in North Carolina, and then let's say you have a kid and your kid happens to be gay. Is that not going to bother you that you could have done something to stop that? Is that not going to affect you?
That'll bother the shit out of me. But at that point, that's when I will do something. And don't get me wrong, when I don't...
At that point, it'd be too fucking late.
I don't make a whole lot of forward progression on a lot of anything. However, when there is something that I absolutely believe in that is worth my time and effort, because like I said, I don't have a whole lot and I don't want to be involved in keeping up with all that shit, because I will adjust what I am focused on to that, and I don't want to do that.
It's not hard, West.
Chris, it isn't.
The only elections you're really involved in, the only politicians you even really have to look up are the governor of your state. Generally, there's only 2, 3 of those running at any given time. There's your 2 people that get elected to the Senate from your state, and then there's the House of Representative that you elect for your district. And then there's the president, but the president isn't as important as the people that you send to Congress.
I don't think you understand the thing that I'm actually avoiding. I'm avoiding allowing myself to get overly involved, because that's what will happen. I won't just go vote.
It doesn't
vote,
even
vote.
really. But see, what I think you're missing though is it doesn't involve extra.
No,
it doesn't involve that much extra effort. Like right now, let's say that you're willing to admit some fundamental things that you believe based on things you've researched. based on my conversations with you, I would say that you probably agree we need some level of gun control.
Oh,
you probably
no,
think that gay rights are a decent thing. You probably think that, for the most part, climate change is an issue we should be tackling.
Mm-hmm.
If it just based on things that you believe, find the politician that represents that.
No.
Most Republicans run on things saying most
here's-
Republicans don't believe in climate
here's
change.
the part
Most
I think you're
Republicans don't
missing.
care about gay rights.
Here's the
Most Republicans
part I think
think
you're
that
missing.
it'd be okay if every man, woman, and child owned a fucking bazooka.
Chris, this is the part I think you're missing. Is I won't stop there. I will try and become the politician. Just because that's the way I do things. If I feel that in some way, shape, or manner that I can do a better job than that person, I will go take over. And I will make sure that I will put myself into a position that will handle it. The thing is I don't want to do that. I just don't. I'm not going to do anything half-assed. And I would feel that even involving myself up to that level, I will get angry about this shit because I agree that it's stupid. Out of all the arguments that we've ever had or arguments or conversations that we've ever had, at some point you mention something in politics that gets you overly riled. Because I agree with you, 90% of the time, those things are fucking retarded. But I will go to the next step. And I will continue going until I have put myself into a position that I can't really get out of. Because that's the way I do things. And you've known me long enough to know that. Because when I get passionate about something, I will fucking destroy everything in my path to make sure that my passion comes to fruition. And
I don't see why that's a bad thing, though, if that's where
But
life takes you.
But that's not what I want to deal with. That's not what I want to do. That's the conundrum I'm in. Is if I agree with you, it is a bad thing that I am on the sidelines as much as I am.
I don't see, from a moral and from an ethical standpoint, I don't see how not at least passively trying to fix things is, to me, that's just as bad as causing them. Because you're not even trying to fix it.
It's where my focus is. It just feels like another thing to add on into my life, and I don't want to do that. Just don't.
The way I see it, it's not an extra add-on to my life. The reason I get pissed off about politicians is as an extension of things I've already researched and things I already know that I believe to be true.
Mm-hmm. Well, and don't get me wrong, I pay attention enough to make sure nothing stupid's happening. Don't get me wrong, some stupid shit's going down, but it's more comically stupid. Hence the shutdown, which is that's
not even comically stupid. There's nothing funny about that. If we default, that will have ripple effects in the economy that could send us back to 2008.
Oh.
That could put you out of a job because you're in a non-essential industry.
Well, no, I don't disagree.
That could
with
put
you.
me out of a job because people will be broke and poor and won't be mailing shit anymore. So they'll probably cut all the postal jobs.
No, I agree with you, but the comic part of it is the move was completely.
So you're listening to the Nerd Method podcast,
completely
with Wes
asinine and a
Chris.
stupid
Yay,
choice.
you got it this time.
Hence,
You can get in touch with us on. Fuck, what's the
hold
email?
on 1 minute.
I forgot.
Let me stop this. Something has happened. I don't know.
You forgot
let me
too!
make sure- let me make sure I know what it is
One
without
second. And I'm gonna
fucking
take
it
this
up.
moment.
I have it on my phone.
I believe it is nerdmethodpodcast
Just-
at gmail.com.
Yeah. Methodpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, just email us if you want to talk to us.
You might want to re-record that. That's a clusterfuck failure right there.
I think it's a nice intro. I really think it's a nice intro.